You ever watch a movie or scroll through your feed and just get a weird feeling? Like there's something else going on just below the surface? Well, you're not wrong. Media is packed with hidden messages, and today we're going to learn how to find them. It's time to become a media detective.
I mean, think about it for a second. Why is it that some people are always the funny best friend? Or the wise old mentor who shows up for one scene and then vanishes? Or, just the villain? These aren't accidents. They are patterns. And trust me, once you learn how to spot them, you'll see them everywhere.
So, how do we actually find these patterns? Well, we use this tool called content analysis. I know, it sounds super academic and boring, but forget the name. Just think of it as your official detective's toolkit. It's just a systematic way of looking at media, not as entertainment, but as evidence. All right, so every good detective needs a case, right? So step one is deciding what exactly we're going to investigate. This is all about focus.
And it really just boils down to two simple choices. First, you pick a group of people you're curious about. And second, you pick the media you want to look at. Are we talking blockbuster movies, TV commercials, TikToks? It's your investigation. You're in charge. And the options are pretty broad. You could investigate how the elderly are shown in media, or people of color, women, LGBTQ+ individuals, people with disabilities. Heck, you could even dig into body representation, how people considered too heavy or too thin show up on screen.
And here's how it all comes together. You combine a group with a media source, and bam! You get a sharp, focused question for your case file. Something like, do films portray overweight women in a negative way? See that? Now we've got a real mission.
Okay, detective, you've got your case file. Now for the really fun part, gathering the clues. This is where you put on your trench coat, metaphorically speaking, and start digging through the evidence.
So, what kind of clues are we looking for? Well, you're on the hunt for recurring themes. Are the portrayals generally positive, negative, neutral? Are there specific words that keep popping up? And this one is absolutely crucial. Can you count it? Counting is your secret weapon. Tallying up every time something happens is one of the most powerful ways to prove a pattern isn't just in your head. Let's actually walk through a quick example to see how this works. Let's say our case is looking at how elderly people are portrayed in the top 10 TV comedies on Netflix. We've got our group, we've got our media source, now we just have to start watching and taking notes. And after binging all these shows, we find our first massive clue. Get this. In a whopping 2/3 of these super popular comedies, there are either no characters over the age of 50, or they have really minor roles. They're practically invisible.
And when you put that on a chart, wow, the difference is just stark. You can see the overwhelming majority of these hit shows are basically erasing older people from the picture. That's not a feeling anymore, that is cold hard data.
But wait, the clues get even more specific. We find that in the few shows where elderly characters do show up, the portrayal is not great. In 2 out of the 10 shows, they were either treated like a joke or were on screen for less than 4 minutes total. So basically, they're either not there at all or they're just a punchline. So we have our clues. We've got the stats, the examples, the patterns. But a pile of evidence doesn't solve a case, right? The final, most important step for any detective is to connect the dots and figure out what it all means.
This is the big so what moment. So what if 2/3 of comedies ignore older people? What's the real message being sent to all of us watching, whether we realize it or not?
Well, first, let's think about the group being portrayed. If you're an older person and you turn on the TV and never, ever see anyone who looks or feels like you in an important role, what does that do to you? It can send this subtle message that your stories just don't matter anymore, that you're irrelevant. But it doesn't stop there. What about everybody else watching? If the only time we see an older person on screen is when they're confused or they're the butt of a joke, how does that start to shape our own ideas? It can totally affect how we treat the real elderly people in our lives in ways we might not even notice. And this logic applies across the board. Take this example. If a person with a larger body is never the romantic lead in a movie, the message being sent over and over again is that people who look like that aren't desirable or worthy of love. That kind of pattern has a massive real-world impact.
Okay, so as we wrap up our first big case, let's zoom out. Let's look at the bigger picture here and ask, why does any of this matter?
You now have the complete detective toolkit, and it's really a simple 3-step process. 1. Ask a question to choose your case. 2. Look for patterns to gather your clues. And 3. Analyze the meaning by connecting the dots. That's it.
And this is so much more than just some homework assignment. This is a life skill. It literally changes you from someone who just passively watches things into an active, critical viewer, someone who understands the messages being fired at you all day long and can actually decide for yourself if you want to accept them. So, I'll leave you with this one last thought. The next time you're watching a movie or a show, or even just scrolling through your phone, what are you going to look for? What hidden messages will you, the media detective, finally be able to see?